So this one's got the same thing. It's got some telltale banding. You never know what you're going to see in there. But as I was flipping this around, where did that go? Looking right here. Got some unusual sheen in there. Probably call it silver sheen. So maybe not any fire, but it still could produce some decent cabochons. This chunk is showing almost metallic, which is unusual. Oh, look at that. There's some rainbow in there. Hard to see. I'm gonna have to cut it to see it. This metallic kind of looking stuff is interesting as well. I don't know if that'd be considered silver sheen, but it looks good and solid too. So here's a piece of silver sheen obsidian, and you can see it's got quite a few layers in there, so this should produce some decent stuff. But I noticed when I turned it over, there's a little bit of color in there, so this could transition into rainbow as well. Well, won't know until I start cutting it though. If it does develop color, it's not going to be super bright. The prominent one would be the silver sheen. Here's another one of those potential metallic.
Hi, baby.
So here's a piece of obsidian I've done some cutting on, multiple angles. And you can see it's got some okay rainbow in there. But I think actually this side's got more potential. So, some future project. I don't know what I'll do with it. Here's another one with lots of layering. So you look for color, things like that. And this one's got some decent rainbow in there. There's pink up here, fades all the way down to blue. Lots of potential in this one. So you can see there's some, I guess they call it pink lady obsidian, but there's also some rainbow up here. But then when you turn it over to this side, the whole side lights up with pink lady. So how would you cut it? There's even a little bit of blue in there. So sometimes I pick up pieces and I know I gotta try and cut into them and see what they've got inside of them. This one just screams that there's all kinds of color potential in there. Looks like a little possible blue. I mean, look at all the banding. Oh yeah, there you go, look at that, there's some blue in there. So obviously this would want to be cut parallel to the layers to expose the blue layer for sure. Lots of potential in this one. So this was showing some good potential. There's even some blue in there. I didn't see that before. And then, so I started cutting it. Well, then it just kind of became mediocre. It's not real stark colors. It's all right, but it's not as good as I'd hoped. So I think with this guy, I'll turn it over and start cutting from the other side. This is a pretty decent sized chunk, and you can see it's got some nice color in there. I kind of have a tendency to go for the blues. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. And look at what's on the other side. Most definitely blue, pink, peach. So this one will get more cutting done to it. Now that's an interesting pocket because that's actually a hole, and trying to get the color to still show when you cab it, it may all go away, but I'll find out one of these days. So here's a piece with lots of banding in it. Nothing obvious is showing. There's a tiny bit of color right there, but it's really hard to tell. So this is why people will smack the end of it and break a chunk off, because you never know what it's like inside. And this is one of those rare blue ones. I don't know if it's considered Aurora Borealis or not, because there's a little bit of pink tinge in there as well. But this one will be another one to have fun playing with. And you couldn't tell by looking at the outside. Well, then there's Snowflake. And that's kind of self-explanatory. But finding pieces that aren't all fractured is a challenge. I got a couple pieces here that are not too bad, so I'll get some good slabs off of those. And I believe the Snowflake is out of Utah. Okay, so here's the last little group I'm gonna go through. This guy has some, I don't know if that'd be called fire. It's more just kind of silver sheen, but it has the layers that a lot of fire has. So that's a potential. It's only like right here on this in one little edge though, so that'll be fun grinding that out. And then this guy, you can see it's got all kinds of bands in it. And there's a couple layers in here of maybe, possibly. And I'm thinking this might actually be midnight lace, although there's no evidence of it, and I won't know for sure until I cut it. But if it does, then it'll have a little bit of flow to it, not too much though. And then these two, I think that might be gold sheen in there, but there's nothing exposed. There's just lots of, you can see the layers, but nothing's been chipped to say for sure what it is. So something to experiment with. Same with this one. Oops. Look at all those layers, but nothing's been chipped to see what it is. But then there's this very unusual, almost metallic design here on the end. So more than likely I will cut the end off to see what it looks like underneath there. And this last piece, I probably would call it Velvet Rainbow Obsidian. Or green, I guess you could call it green obsidian, but it's got a very velvety pattern to it. And I've obviously cut it before. So that's it for my obsidian. Oh, I did have a whole bunch of Snowflake that I wasn't aware that I had. So there's a bunch of future cutting in there as well. So that's That's it. I hope you enjoyed a tour through my few buckets of obsidian.